What's up, guys, and welcome to the weekly Q&A in yet another new room that is pink. And also, welcome to my new hair.
We're still on a quest to find the good setup, and so now we're in Molly's office, which the last people had painted pink, so that's fun.
Yeah. Our first question comes from Matthew Gamb, who asks if Ahsoka's blue lightsabers in Season 7 of the Clone Wars contradict her having the green lightsabers in the Ahsoka book.
Well, we don't know the whole story yet behind the blue lightsabers and what happens in Season 7 of the Clone Wars, but my initial guess is, yes, it's a contradiction, but I don't think it's that big of a deal.
I'm sure they'll explain it in the Clone Wars.
Yeah, I think Dave Filoni probably has a very good reason for making them blue. A character choice, a story choice, something for doing that.
More toys.
Yeah.
Toy sales.
Now we can get Ahsoka's blue lightsabers. But I think that the book can basically be changed in future iterations. I mean, if you look back at Tolkien, he even went back and did a second edition of The Hobbit, so it lined up more with The Lord of the Rings, especially stuff with Gollum and the chapter with Bilbo. So I think future versions of the book can just say that Ahsoka threw away her blue lightsabers instead of her green ones, and that'll be that.
Bray wants to know if the Chiss Ascendancy could ever appear in a movie or TV show.
As much as I want that to happen, because the Chiss Ascendancy has always been something that intrigues me, I kind of doubt it. I think that it was a book creation, mostly by Timothy Zahn, and I think that for the most part, the Chiss and exploring their society is probably going to take place in books, probably by Timothy Zahn.
Yeah, I can't see them making it work on the big screen or even in TV. I just think that would be a lot of either CG or a lot of people in makeup, or even if it was just Thrawn, I don't know if they could do him justice on the big screen.
The potential I could see is an animated show where Thrawn has already been introduced. If people watched Star Wars Rebels and then we did a continuation with Ezra and Thrawn and maybe eventually they make their way back to the Chiss Ascendancy, then I could see them sort of introducing the Chiss into the larger world. Like the books, I always view the Star Wars canon as kind of a funnel where the movies are up here. That's what everyone takes in, and then there's going to be the TV shows, and then the books and the comics and the video games, and as you go down, it gets a smaller and smaller audience, and the books are much smaller than the TV shows. And so I think that they need to sort of ease into introducing that stuff so that eventually it could be shown on the big screen. So right now I'm thinking it won't happen anytime soon.
Yeah. Yeah. Nick Canavan asks if we could bring back any deleted scene, what would it be? I'll go with Luke making his green lightsaber just because everybody always asks about it and why they deleted it.
Yeah, that one's a tough one. Where I do like seeing him build his lightsaber, but it also kind of ruins that reveal of it happening at the Sarlacc pit. I would also go with the Return of the Jedi scene. I really like the stuff with Moff Gerrera that they took out, where he was ordered to blow up Endor, and it kind of places a ticking time bomb on them blowing up the second Death Star. I could see why they took it out. It's very similar to Yavin 4, and we have to blow up the Death Star before they blow up our friends.
Mm-hmm.
But I liked seeing Gerrod's conflict, and he didn't want to do that because there were Imperials down there, and seeing him being pulled in two directions, and I just like that character, so seeing a little more of him would have been cool.
Dason Flores wants to know if we think ancient lightsabers will ever be shown with battery packs.
So in Legends, some of the first lightsabers did have cables coming out of them, and they went into battery packs and stuff. I'm kind of thinking no. In the new universe, I think that lightsabers are being treated much more spiritually instead of technologically. I think that it's probably one design just about that's held true. I mean, we've seen the Proto Saber in Secrets of the Empire, and that has a strange design. And then the Vader Immortal VR thing is showing us something new that kind of looks like it could be a lightsaber, but the lightsabers that we know, I think, are probably going to always just be a hilt with a kyber crystal powered by the Force.
Yeah, I don't really see how adding ancient lightsaber designs with a battery pack serves for the storyline and for canon. So
yeah.
I don't really see that happening.
I think back in the Legends days, it was just one of those like, okay, we're jumping back thousands of years. How do we change the look and feel of the galaxy? Like KOTOR kind of gets some flack. It's like the only criticism people have of that story, where it's like everything's basically the same, even though we jumped back 4,000 years. So I think people were trying to go like, what do we do to show that we're in ancient times? And that's what they did. I think that we're probably going to see different versions of lightsabers, but the evolution will always be more spiritual rather than technological, if that makes sense.
Colby Wade asks what Star Wars podcasts we recommend.
I've been waiting for someone to ask this because I want to talk about Mission to Zix.
That's not a Star Wars podcast.
It's not specifically a Star Wars podcast, but there are Star Wars inspirations in it.
We have so many podcaster friends.
We're going to go through those too. We've already recommended all them, and we'll do our normal ones. But Mission to Zix is a comedy sci-fi podcast that is completely improvised. It's got incredible sound design. And basically, it starts off as kind of a Star Trek premise, but everyone that's involved with it loves Star Wars. And right off the bat, you can feel some of that with like the character names and even the way some of the characters act. And there are versions of like the Jedi Order and Jedi Knights and the Empire.
The clones.
Yeah, the clone troopers. And I mean, one of my favorite characters in the whole thing is a clone trooper. So I would highly recommend you check out Mission to Zix. It is hilarious, and I look forward to listening to it every Wednesday. It deserves a lot more listeners. But of course, we also have our podcaster friends.
Yes.
Like Steel Wars, Star Wars Minute, Force Center Podcast, Force Toast, so Resistance Broadcast.
Yeah.
Oh, Bombad.
Yeah.
The Bombad cast.
That's a new one.
Yeah, but let's talk about Scotty because he's an awesome dude, and we got to meet him the past two celebrations. Super cool guy, and he's started to get into Star Wars podcasting. He is like an ideal Star Wars fan, and I love hearing his thoughts on Star Wars. So check out his new podcast. We'll link to all of them in the description.
I'm trying to think of a couple more. What the Force is really, really good.
Yep.
I recently started listening to them, and they always have great stuff. Full of Sith is a good one.
I'm like, we always just name out a ton, and I'm terrified that we're going to forget friends. So I'm just going to put a big list in the description for everyone that we know, because there are so many good ones.
Yeah.
That's it for patron questions. If you're a patron and you didn't see your question answered here, just head over to Patreon where we left you a written response. If you're not a patron, you can learn more by following the link in the description. Just $1 a month will get you access to extra Star Wars Explained goodies like audio commentaries for the films and audio commentaries for Clone Wars episodes. And this week we released our commentary for Brain Invaders, so you can check that out right now if you're interested.
On to YouTube questions. Droid walks into a bar, asks if Saw Gerrera was referring to Cal from Fallen Order when he said he'd never thought he'd meet another Jedi in Star Wars Rebels.
So, yeah, in Season 3 of Star Wars Rebels, he meets Kanan and Ezra, says he never thought he'd meet another Jedi. At the time of that production, I think they were probably just referring to Anakin, Ahsoka, Obi-Wan, the people that were on Onderon. Mm-hmm. But now, yeah, it can easily be swapped to, or switched to Cal and Seer, who are going to be in Fallen Order.
Yeah, that's a pretty easy retcon. But like you said, that I don't think the idea for Cal was a thing when they made him say that. So
yeah, it's possible because that game has been in development for a long time. But I mean, the line is so vague that, like, who knows? There could be another story down the line where Saw meets yet another Jedi.
Yeah.
He could have met a Jedi 2 days before meeting Kanan and Ezra and been like, oh, never thought I'd meet another one.
Jay Mikowski wants to know how fans would have reacted if the Darth Jar Jar theory had turned out to be true in Attack of the Clones. I think they would have lost their minds.
I don't think it would have gone over well. And the reason I really don't think that was really a thing, as much as I appreciate the thought and effort that went into that theory, and as much fun as I think it is, I don't think it's true because there's really no setup for that in Phantom Menace.
Yeah.
I think Jar Jar was just meant to be kind of the 3PO stand-in the wacky sidekick that does goofy things and says goofy things and steps in poop and gets farted on. So I think that's what his purpose was. Maybe there was going to be more to him, but I just don't feel like there was any foreshadowing to his real purpose.
Yeah, he was never meant to serve a higher purpose, and especially not like a bad guy part.
Yeah, I think the only thing that would change my mind is if George Lucas came out and said, "No, that was my intent."
GledTube asks if it's possible Jason Syndulla could ever be trained by Ezra. Well, if we ever see Ezra again, if he ever comes back from his vacation with Thrawn.
That was my first thought. We have to find Ezra first. Who knows how long he is gone? Maybe Jason, by the time that he grows up, goes into Luke's academy. I don't know. Right now, I'm thinking that the chances are low, but it depends on Ezra's future story, and we have no idea what that looks like. He could come back as an old man after the events of the sequel trilogy, for all we know.
Yeah, and we don't even know if Jason Syndulla is going to have a story other than being Hera's son.
Yeah, I was surprised that in Alphabet Squadron, Hera didn't even mention him. I'm like, what's going on with him? He's got to be...
Spoilers, he's not in Alphabet Squadron.
Yeah, not even a mention. I mean, I assume he's in daycare somewhere because Hera doesn't want...
I think one of the other characters mentions the fact that she's a parent, like very briefly, but she doesn't talk about him at all.
Yeah. I'm sure he's safe somewhere. She mentions missing her family, but that's also kind of in reference to just the crew of the Ghost. They did definitely kind of say that he was Force sensitive in the Rebels finale. So I think there's more potential for story there, but yeah, I don't know. I don't know if we're ever going to get into that.
The only person that knows the answer to those questions is Mr. Filoni.
Yeah, I think that a lot of these questions about Ezra and Thrawn, it's like kind of up to him. And he's left kind of so many potential directions for new stories to go. And it's like, what is he going to prioritize? What does he want to tell next?
Yeah, Timothy Zahn has said in the past that he himself has an idea of, what that story could look like, but that's Dave Filoni's story to tell.
Yeah. Timothy needs like the go-ahead to tell that story from Dave Filoni, basically.
CT5115 wants to know if the Force is genetic or does it choose who inherits it? You would think it would be genetic because of the Skywalker saga, but I don't think that's the case.
I think it's up to the Force.
Yeah.
I do think that the Skywalker saga has definitely shown us that it can be genetic, that the mighty Skywalker blood has passed down from Anakin to Luke and Leia to Ben Solo, and I just don't think that that is what we should assume happens every time. I mean, there are stories and legends where some descendants of Jedi Knights, they had the Force, and other descendants did not. Mm-hmm. So I think it's kind of up to the Force to choose who gets it and who doesn't. And most of the time, it's just random people have Force sensitivity.
Yeah. This is reminding me of kind of what's being passed around right now on the internet about a Daisy Ridley interview where she says that Rey's parentage will definitely be explained or made clear in The Rise of Skywalker. And so everybody's like, oh, does that mean it is someone important? Is she a Kenobi? Is she a this? Is she a that? I still think that means it's just going to be apparent that her parents were no one.
They're going to just like really hammer that home. I hope that's the case, honestly. Like, I don't want them to feel like they've been zigging and zagging around this. Maybe it'll be, I don't know, I forget her name, but Kerry Russell's character. Mm-hmm. Like, maybe it could be her, for example, and it would still be kind of like no one we knew before. And I guess I would be okay with that, but I don't want her to be a Kenobi or a Skywalker at this point.
Or maybe Kerry Russell's character knew who her parents were.
Yeah, that's
and,
possible.
Worked for them or
maybe
with
she
them.
killed Rey's parents.
Ooh.
Ooh.
She put them in that pauper's grave.
Yeah.
Darth Tano22 asks what we think of the theory that Mother Talzin is from Mortis. Ooh.
I had never heard that before. I had to look it up. And the idea is basically that when they go to Mortis, there's a father, a son, and a daughter, but no mother. In Legends, the mother was Abeloth. So now someone's saying, like, what if it's Talzin? I don't really think there's anything to that. I don't think it holds water.
Yeah.
I think she's just a Night Sister.
I agree. I don't think she really belongs in that category of the other Mortis characters, but I do wish that we had more story about the Night Sisters.
Yes, I agree.
I don't know in what form, like a comic or a book or something, but I think that would be something cool to explore.
That's all the time we have for questions today. If you want to leave a question for next week's video, just put it in the comments below or sign up for Patreon to join our weekly Q&A discussion. If you haven't already, please like this video, subscribe to the channel.
Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook.
And as always, thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you.
Leave a comment down below which room you want to see us film in next. I'm recording. What's that?
It's my ice pack. It's hot in here. We're on top of it today. I'm thinking it won't happen anytime soon.
Yeah. Yeah. I tried to make something else
recovery.
up so that it wasn't just a yeah. I'm just nodding my head a lot now instead of saying yeah. Hi, kitty.
I said yeah, and then I was like, shoot, and I had to add something to it.
Well, you did it more gracefully than I did.
Well, my eyes looked like panic at the end. So.
Yeah.
Ooh.
She put them in that pauper's grave.
Yeah.
Hot takes. Did Ahsoka have parents?
Yeah.
Did we see them?
No. Everyone has parents.